Hey guys, it's Ashley and I am back with another haircut tutorial. Today included in this video is a beard trim. It is a little bit longer than my normal videos, so I hope you stay tuned for my tips and tricks on a beard trim and how to tackle a haircut that you're transforming. I know you're gonna love it. Thanks so much.
First, I'm gonna start by just moving some of this long hair out of the way, and I want to kind of give it some weight, so I'm gonna wet it down. And it's gonna be kind of like a heavier top because he wants to still be able to push back that hair, but his sides have been getting a little bit out of control and his beard is way too long for the summertime. So we're gonna take everything down and kind of give him a nice refresher before we get into that really hot August summer heat. So I'm going in with my number 4, and I'm gonna run that kind of along the cheeks, but not all the way on the underneath. And I'm gonna bring it up to the sides. And so I'm using my comb to kind of move some of that longer hair out of my way because I don't want to take all of that weight off of it. And I'm gonna just do that same thing on the other side. I'm gonna kind of lift that longer hair on top off and out of my way. And I'm just going to run that number 4 around. And so now I kind of want to take some of that long hair off because I don't want to have to blend so much of that heavy weight out with my scissors over comb. So I'm going to use my comb as a guide to kind of bring it back together towards the back of his head. He does have a little bit of a cowlick going on back there, so we want to keep that down, and I'm going to taper the back of his neck really nice and clean. And so I'm just using my comb to go ahead and meet myself back where I was on the other side of the head with that number 4 before I go into the taper. And now I'm just going to kind of double check everything. And so now I'm going to take my number 1 and kind of start out my taper. He does have the M in the back of the hairline, and you can't really see it right here, so it kind of makes an M shape and leaves 2 spots in the back kind of thinner and lighter than the others. So I'm going to take that one a little bit higher than I normally would since he doesn't have a full neckline, and I'm just going to kind of taper that out. So now I'm grabbing my 1.5 and I'm gonna just ride that up from where my 1 was. And then once I get to this side, I'm gonna go ahead and open it a little bit more, just so I can really work out any lines. I don't want to leave them. And now I'm going to grab my number 2. I'm going to go right above my 1.5 with that number 2 closed and start to work out that line. And as you can see, I'm never really digging in as I'm fading out my taper. I'm always scooping out. because I always want to be able to just easily go in with my next number and blend it up. So now I've got my number 3. And then I'm going to open it. But it really didn't need to be blended anymore, so I'm going to go back with my number 4 and just double check everything and take his beard down right here. And then I just wanted to get these sides a little bit shorter. He wanted to kind of keep it really nice and full, so I'm not going to take this number 4 all the way to the middle. I just want to give a nice fade to it, so the 4 on the cheeks and lightly underneath is going to give a nice dimension. And then I'm going to take my number 8 and run it through his chin area and all throughout the underneath of his neck. So I'm just running that, and anything I miss with that number 8, I'm going to go back in and clean up with my trimmers. But this is just going to keep that really full beard without taking away from his shape or his face, and making him feel like his beard's completely gone. As you can see, it is taking off a lot. The number 8 is going to leave about an inch of hair. And with the way his beard grows, that is plenty for him to have. And as you can see, I'm going in and I'm kind of scooping underneath the jawline to really get that hair as close to that number as possible. And I just continue to comb out any kinks that might be in the beard. Now, before I line up the beard, I just wanted to come back to his neck and kind of finish off this taper. Whenever I first started it, I didn't know if I wanted to come back to it or not, but I decided that I did. So I'm just taking my clippers with a half opened, and then I'm going with my half guard and just trying to fade that into that one that I brought up there. And so I brought that one high for a reason, and so this half should just get right in between so that his M's just kind of tapered out. So I'm just gonna match it back into that one. I already know I have that 1.5, so I really can't go wrong here. And then I just opened it back up. Now I'm gonna line everything up before I cut the top of the hair. So I'm going to line up around his ears, the back of the neck, and his beard. I'm just going around his ears, and I'm kind of pulling everything from that number 4 out to the side. Same thing right here for the beard. I want to kind of keep that squared up look, so I'm going to use my comb as my guide for that, and then I'm just going to go back in and clean that up a little bit tidier than it was with the comb. Really bring that shape out. And then I'm going to go around his ear. And you can see I'm using the corners when I'm doing around the ears. I'm never really going in with my entire blade unless I'm behind the ear, because you don't want to leave them any big lines or take off too much. So you want to use the corners of your trimmers more than you normally would around the ear. And I think a good lineup's important, so I take my time around the ears, just so that when it's growing out, it's not bothering them. And now I'm gonna pull everything on that sideburn kind of out and clean it all up, and then pulling out that corner and giving him a nice C shape. Just gonna lightly taper that in a little bit more, since the sideburns on a beard seem to kind of get fluffier than the hair. And now I'm gonna kind of pull this out and up to get any kinky hairs that might have been hiding underneath that my number 8 couldn't catch. And I'm kind of bringing it in a little bit more for the underneath and blending it all back together. So right here, I'm following his cheek and giving him a slight curve. And the only thing I hate about this is that no one's face is perfectly symmetrical, so you have to check yourself a lot when you're doing a beard. And you have to double check with the client, because they know their face way better than you. So they can tell you if they think it's more uneven in certain spots. But you can just tell from the light work I did on this side compared to the other side how much of a difference it made in his beard and his mustache. So for the mustache, I'm gonna just pull it out and tilt it down toward the lip at an angle, 45 degrees. And then I'm gonna go just slightly following the lip with the corner of my tool so that I can get a really nice clean cut around the edge of the lip. And for this, I don't want his head too far up, because I want to kind of more shape it than just cut straight through to the back of his neck, because there's a lot of density in his beard. So as you can see right here, if I were to go and just cut all of that, it would just be a big poof instead of being nice and symmetrically all the way to the back. So I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, kind of just tapering everything together from that 4 and the number 8. Cleaning up his sideburn and around his ear. And then kind of pulling that out and blending that a little bit more lightly together. And then I'm gonna pull it out over there and kind of give it that nice squared up look. And then on this side, I'm gonna kind of meet it at the top. But as you can see, I didn't go deep enough with that curve, so I'm gonna kind of go back. And when I'm doing this, I'm always stepping back and double checking in my mirror. So now just cleaning up around his sideburn a little bit more, giving that nice C curve to the face to go into his beard. And you can see me using the corner of my teeth right there to just clean up the ear. We're gonna clean up any ear fuzzies. And just give them a nice clean lineup. And then for the underneath, I just want the client to look kind of like he would be walking down the street and kind of holding his head up high, you know, confidently. I want to give him more of like a shelf. I don't want to dig in and take off too much length. So I kind of go in and like etch it straight back. And you can kind of pull down the hair to take it down a little bit. And you can just see how much of a difference that makes. And then before I finish up on this side, I want to make sure that I get the other side of his mustache. So we are going to trim that up. Same thing, I'm going to kind of give it that 45-degree angle down toward the lip. And then I'm going to go in with the corner of my trimmers and just kind of etch out his shape of his lips. Now, I like to give them a little bit of their natural point in their mustache. I don't really like to give them a straight line across, but everyone likes their mustache a little bit differently, so it just depends on your client. And then I'm gonna go on the other side and I'm gonna do the same thing, just kind of etching out his beard. I tried not to get in the way too much for y'all, so I do apologize. And then I just go ahead and double check everything. And now I'm gonna go and get the underneath of the neck as straight as possible and super cleaned up. So I'm just kind of shelving off of the length of his jaw and going straight towards the back of the neck. I don't like my client's head all the way lifted, so I try to kind of keep them looking really straight. You can see me kind of just cleaning up under the neck. Sometimes on the sides the curves can get a little rough when you're going out from the middle, so I like to work kind of one side at a time and then go back and really clean it up nice. And when I pull that comb down to get the hair, it's kind of pulling out any loose hairs that might be hiding underneath that really don't sit as well on the neck and kind of make it heavier. So if you pull those hairs kind of out with your comb, you can have that nice clean line. And so now, after all of my clipper work and trimmer work's done, I'm going to re-wet his top since I wet it before to move it out my way, but this time I'm going to scissor cut and blend it together. So I don't want the most blended for this haircut because he wants to leave his top long. So I definitely want to leave it a little bit heavier. He's mostly a hat wearer. He likes the long hair on top to style when, you know, they're going out to eat or going to church, something like that. So I'm going to kind of move this hair over to the side and I'm going to extend it pretty far back and start to blend it towards him. Since he's going to push it backwards, I'm going to blend it forward. And this is going to keep some length when he brushes it back. And then the 45-degree angle that I'm at on the side of the head is going to leave that top a lot longer. So right here I'm going to section out the bangs so that I can give them as much length as he would like. And I'm going to just blend this a little bit tighter on the sides. And right here I'm just kind of double checking that number 4 and blending it into that. And then I'm going to just pull out any sections I find are a little too heavy. Especially in this blonde hair, you can really see the weight. And you can see I'm taking off those corners that are kind of popping up. And this is just a good double check if there was a lot of hair to blend in a small area. And so I'm just using my scissor over comb and going a little bit higher than I just was. And I'm just checking around his ear because I felt like my number 4 wasn't picking it up as well as I wanted it to. And so now I'm going to work towards the back of the head on the cowlick, and I'm kind of just pulling it at that angle and working it towards him as well to keep that length in the back of the head. And then I'm just going to do the same thing on his other side. I'm going to section out the bangs, give them a little trim this time. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut his sides to match and the mohawk middle so that I can create my first guide in the top of the head. And I'm leaning it towards the back of my guide that I've already created to blend in his hair. And so now I'm just going to match both sides of my guide on both sides of his head. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to pull up and match to my guide. And then after I blend it all together, I am going to double check the neck and give him a nice wash so that I can see everything a little bit better. And now I'm going to go ahead and towel dry his hair and then blow dry it as well. So when you're blow drying men's hair, you want to be careful that the speed's not too high, because you can make them a lot fluffier than they normally would be when they would style their own hair, because they're most likely not using a blow dryer. So keeping the blow dryer on a lower speed, it might take you a little bit more time, but it's gonna keep the fluffiness down for them so that it's not too dramatic when they are looking at themselves styled. And I am just styling it to go back to the side, so I'm pushing all of that hair back with my blow dryer and over, and this is going to create some volume in the top of the hair. And now I'm going to add a wax mix and just give him a nice style and kind of show him how he can do it a few different kinds of ways. He can kind of brush it all back. He can also give it a nice side part. Thank you so much for watching the video. Here's the before and after. Come back and check out some more videos.
All right, that is the end of my video. If you liked it, please go and watch all of my other ones that I've made for you. I hope to be able to create some more for you in the meantime. So please like and subscribe. Thanks so much, guys. Hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. I appreciate you.